Hey everyone, thanks for joining me today. First of all, I want to thank everyone that listened to last week's episode, which was about how to help someone who struggles with mental health issues. Thank you for every episode you listen to, but last week specifically, it seemed to really resonate with people, and I heard from a lot of people about it, and that just kind of tells me that that is an important topic for people, and that there's a need to know about that. And it's also really encouraging to know that so many people are interested in knowing how to help other people who struggle with mental health issues. And it's also, I think, maybe on the sad side of that is just how many of us know someone who struggles with mental health issues. And so I just want to, thank you if you reached out to me to tell me your feedback on that. That's always helpful. And I hope that that it did help you just kind of get some tips or get the confidence or the knowledge to be able to help someone, and also just knowing the limits of that, knowing that you are not a professional, a mental health professional, and it's okay that you don't know how to help someone, and always knowing the limits to that and when to really encourage that person to get professional help. So thank you for that. So today I want to talk about kind of the friendships, the relationships we have in our lives, and but I want to look at it from a different perspective. We've talked a lot about relationships and, especially in more intimate relationships, long-term relationships, about how to behave in a relationship to be a good partner or significant other, and how to really engage in a way with that person to nurture the relationship and help it grow. But today's perspective is a little bit different. So I want to talk about the people that we choose to surround ourselves with. And this really is a broad net. It could be family, friends, acquaintances, colleagues, significant others, all of it. And there are some people that we can decide if we want to have in our lives, the people that we intentionally interact with and maybe make plans to see or want to spend time with. And then there are people that we have to engage with because we're related, have to see each other at work, or just bound by certain circumstances that make us have to interact. But I want to talk about all of that because within that, there are certain details that I want to look at that affect us and that affect how we feel about other people, how we feel about ourselves. So I always try to look at the people that I have in my life as, and this has gotten something, that I've grown in as I've gotten older, but just really trying to be aware of who are the people that I choose to have in my circle, in my life, right? So again, there are people I have to interact with because of family circumstances or just social circumstances. And then there are people I want to interact with. So starting with the want, right? That's an easier one to start with. I always try to look at the people that I choose to spend time with or I choose to have in my life. And I try to be mindful of, is this a good person for me to have in my life? And I think we all can relate to the experience of having someone in our lives that maybe started out being really positive and a really good addition to our lives and really contributed in a lot of positive ways to our lives. But then at some point in time that shifted, and maybe they stopped being such a positive person in our lives, or they started actually being a negative person, or they started causing us stress or difficulty of some sort. So we've all been there. And those experiences, those struggles in relationships, I think are what, for me at least, those are what have helped me kind of figure out who are the kinds of people that I want in my life. And I am the kind of person that as I've gotten older, I have made that decision. I don't even know that it was an intentional decision. I think just life experiences started helping me think about it this way. But I've gotten to this awareness where I'm like, you know what? I don't really want people in my life that are going to continue to drain me and deplete me of all of my energy or positivity. I want people that contribute to my life in some way, whether they are encouraging, supportive, helpful, or that we can have a mutual relationship where we do that for each other. I don't want someone where I feel like after I spend time with them, I am just exhausted or unhappy or irritable. That's not something that I choose to have in my life. Now, Again, we'll get later to people that we don't really have a choice over, but in terms of the people we choose, the friends that we make, or the people we let in our circle, I am big on that. And there are people I interact with socially because it's just part of a larger social situation. I could be hanging out with people that I like, and in that same group, there might be someone that I don't care for very much, or I don't enjoy their company as much. But we're in this big group. It's not a big deal. But one-on-one, I probably wouldn't choose to hang out with that person. But I've been in situations where I'm like, this one person ruins this group so much for me that I just rather not participate at all, because I have a hard time enjoying the people I like when this one or two people that I don't enjoy is there. So that's a personal choice that I will make, where I'm like, it's just better for me to not go to this event. I'm not going to force myself in a situation that I will later regret or feel uncomfortable with or just be annoyed by. I'd rather do something better with my time, like hang out with my family or whatever. And so that's something that I have been aware of. And that has come up for me because I've had situations where someone that was really, a good person in my life, a good friend, turned into more of a toxic person in my life, or more of a concern, where I didn't feel comfortable in that friendship anymore, or didn't feel safe to be open with them, knowing that I was going to be respected or valued a certain way. And when I was younger, I'm talking even like early 20s, so hard for me to draw that line. It was so hard for me to walk away from friendships or from people that I felt were harming me, or emotionally or whatever, not physically, but like causing me harm in the relationship, in the sense of being rude to me, disrespectful, maybe taking advantage of my friendship, taking advantage of the fact that I was a very nice person and didn't say no, and all of those things. And it was so hard for me to walk away because I was a people pleaser. I still am to some extent, working on that, right? But I don't know that ever will go away 100%. So it was so difficult to say, I don't want to be friends with this person, because it came with this loss, or this feeling of guilt, or just this, I don't want to be mean. I don't want to hurt someone. But, I had to learn that having boundaries for myself, to protect myself, is not mean. If the other person has done something to hurt me, and my reaction is to say, you know what, I'm just not, I don't feel right about this friendship. I don't want to be in this friendship anymore. Okay, they might take that and be offended by that, be hurt by it. But you know what? That's just a decision I'm going to make for myself, because they didn't have a difficult time doing the thing that was hurtful to me. They didn't have a hard time being disrespectful or taking advantage of my friendship. So I don't need to worry about their feelings more than I worry about my own. I do need to prioritize my feelings in those situations. And that is not a selfish thing. That is a call to boundary. That's called self-respect. That's called self-care, self-preservation, whatever you want to call it. And I am not the kind of person that will walk away from friendships easily or discard a friendship at all. I'm very loyal in friendships, and I pride myself on that. But I also have learned there is a limit to how much I need to invest of myself in a friendship if the investment is not equally returned. Now, there are times in friendships, the same way in relationships, where it's not 100% equal. Something might be going on in your life right now, and the friendship's focus needs to be on that. We need to focus on the difficulty you're having. I need to help you through that, and that is fantastic, perfect, exactly where it needs to be. But the friendship is, in a way, it's set up in a way where I know that same thing would be done back if the big thing that was happening on my end, and that person was doing everything they could to help me. So that's a balanced friendship. It's fair. I don't want to say it's equal, because that's hard to measure. It's not always 50-50. It's fair, and it's balanced enough to where everyone feels like their needs are being met in this friendship. Those are the kinds of friends I like to have. Those are the people I intentionally surround myself with. And there are people, like I said earlier, who start out that way, and for some reason it just changes, whether personalities change, circumstances change, or just, maybe you just never had a reason to be faced with a situation that brings that part of another person out. And then when it comes out, it's like you can't unsee it once you see it, and you just realize, like, we're not really well fit for each other in this friendship, so I'm going to go ahead and distance myself. Now, I'm telling you all of this because I have so many people that I work with. I even have a lot of people I know in my personal life who struggle with these boundaries. They don't know how to set a limit with people, or set that line where they say, you are not allowed to treat me that way. I don't want to be involved in your life. You're not involved in my life if you're going to continue to treat me that way. And there are lots of different reasons why people struggle with this, but I think a lot of it comes back to confidence, self-esteem, having other friends to turn to, because if I only have one friend and that one friend's being awful to me, then it's going to be really hard for me to end that friendship because I don't have anyone else to talk to. I don't have anyone to turn to. And so that's part of it sometimes. But then also just the fear of retaliation. Like, what if I set a boundary with you and then you just become even uglier to me and you treat me or talk about me to other people? That plays into it too. And the confidence piece is just like, I don't know how to stand up for myself. I don't know what to say. And there are a lot of people that struggle with that. I've had to learn how to do that. It's not something I was good at. I mean, you've heard me talk about in previous episodes, I hated confrontation. I still don't enjoy it, but I didn't know how to do it when I was a younger adult. And now, bring it. If there's something I need to tell you about how I feel, yeah, I don't necessarily want to, but if I have to stand up for myself, you better believe I'm going to stand up for myself, because I've learned my worth. I've learned that I don't need to be treated badly. I don't deserve to have people disrespect me. I know I treat everyone with respect. Over the years, I know there are people who do not like me, who can't stand me, who think I'm annoying or whatever. I am still incredibly respectful to those people. They will never know that I don't like them back. They will never know that I find them annoying. They'll never know that I think they're incredibly disrespectful, because I choose to be the kind of person that I want to be. I will be respectful to you no matter who you are. I don't have to like you to treat you with respect, because me respecting you is not about you. It's about me. It's about me having the self-respect to not appear to be an ugly person, to be a rude person. I don't ever want to be perceived that way, because that's not who I am. So I will act the way I choose to act, regardless of how you act and how you treat me. And that's something I want you to take away from this. If you are in a position where you have to set a boundary with someone who is not kind to you, just know that you're doing it because it's the right thing to do for yourself, because you don't deserve that. And if they want to get uglier and meaner, you don't have to stand there and take it. You can walk away. If you are worried that other people are going to talk about you, well, then maybe those people aren't the kinds of people you need to be friends with either. And I get that that's a big sacrifice. If you're in a position where everyone you know knows that person and could potentially be turned against you, that's a risk. But the alternative is to stay in this emotionally destructive situation with a friend, or a so-called friend. And if you're that worried about it, you need to find the people in that group that you truly value, and you need to have a talk with them. And it's not a pick me out of the two friends. It's a, look, I'm just going to be honest with you about what happened. I went to this person. I was honest with them about how I felt they were treating me. I was very respectful. I was very kind. I didn't say anything ugly. I was just honest that I felt like I needed to draw a line. In return, they have started talking about me and saying all kinds of ugly things. I'm going to let you decide what you think about that. I'm not going to sit here and fight for your friendship, but this is what actually happened. I hope to still have you as a friend. And then you move on. And that is where you're going to see who your true friends are. And I would rather you not have any friends than to have a bunch of fake friends, or a bunch of ugly, emotionally abusive, or whatever friends. So that's my little pep talk for don't be scared, speak up. Stand up for yourself. And from previous sessions with me, or episodes with me, that confrontation is not ugly. The way that I do it, the way I teach you to do it, is not ugly. It's not rude. Doesn't have any bad words in it. It's very matter of fact. It's a business deal. I don't appreciate that, so I'm not going to stand for it anymore. Goodbye. It's that simple. It sounds maybe easier said than done, but really it doesn't have to be an ugly thing. It's a line that you are drawing, and that person is not invited to cross it. and it's for you. It's not for them. It's, people we set boundaries with typically don't care about our boundaries, and they will try to push them. But if I set the boundary, I'm going to control how much I let you push. If you try to push, my boundary is going to get stronger, and we are going to have a bigger problem on our hands. But I'd rather not go there if they can, respect it. And most people will. Family can be a little different. We'll get to that. But yeah, these boundaries are for you. And I think probably need to do a more kind of focused episode on boundaries, but the lines are drawn for you. So with friends, I want you to be thinking about your circle. Are you surrounded by people? Do you choose to hang out with people that kind of leave you feeling good and, rejuvenated and happy, and you've had fun and you've enjoyed their company, you feel good about yourself? Or are you spending time with people who do leave you feeling depleted and exhausted and questioning yourself, or feeling insecure about yourself, or feeling like you have to really kind of wear a mask or a certain identity to fit in? And how do you feel about that? Let's say it's the latter, and you are having to be a certain person to fit in, and you don't feel great about yourself. Well, does that bother you, or is that something that you're just going to decide to live with? That's a choice that you get to make. I can't tell you if that's bad for you. I don't think it's healthy, but I'm not going to tell you that you have to walk away from everyone who stresses you out, because it's not the case. But I do want you to increase that level of self-respect. If you have friendships that do not contribute and they only take, you need to look at that. You need to decide if that's you taking care of yourself, or you just wanting to fit in, so you'll take whatever, or you just really forgetting that you matter. I don't know. There's all kinds of reasons, but figure out why you do that. Why are you in these friendships? Maybe you don't realize a friendship is actually unhealthy until I'm asking you to think about it right now. Go through the list of people you hang out with. See how you feel the next time you hang out with people. Do you walk away feeling good, or do you feel wiped out? Do you feel good about yourself? Do you feel like you have to dress a certain way to impress them? Do you have to be a certain way for them to accept you? That's the stuff. That's exhausting. And if you love that, enjoy it. That's great. Most people I talk to who have to be a certain way to fit in, it usually comes with a kind of a negative somewhere else. It comes with the feeling of having to hide who they really are, or it comes with having to play a role that they don't feel comfortable with, or having to just kind of sacrifice a part of their personality or identity to be able to be in this group. So just think about that. You could have, a lot of fun with someone and still feel bad about yourself. It's not a like all good, all bad. There's all kinds of different variations. So I just want you to think about that. So now let's move on to the family portion. This is more complicated, because just by the fact that certain people are family members, it connects us and binds us a little differently. But the reality is most people have experienced some kind of turbulence in family, whether it's your immediate family, your parents, your siblings, your children, or more extended cousins, aunts, uncles, grandparents, and so on. So if you've had no turbulence in your life with family, congratulations, that is probably not the norm. Everyone I know at some point has had a bad interaction, conflict, drama, hurt feelings, things that were said, disappointment, whatever. And some of them are minor, and that's it. Some people are lucky enough to have no major turbulence in their relationships with family for their entire lives. And then other people have nothing but turbulence in their families for their entire lives. And then you've got everyone in between. So if you find yourself in a situation with a family member that is not positive, whether you feel like you're being mistreated, disrespected, lied to, judged, whatever, you have to figure out what that means to you. How is it a situation where you see this person one time a year and you just really have to suck it up, and it's that one event, Christmas, whatever, you get through it, you never have to see them for the rest of the year, it's fine, move on? Or is it someone that's so deeply entrenched in your day-to-day life or weekly life or whatever, that you really feel the burden of that relationship and that it's very unhealthy or toxic or whatever you want to call it, then you're going to have a different way to look at this. You have to decide if the people that you have in your lives should have a place in your life. And I'm saying this knowing that that is a really loaded statement, right? If you come from a cultural background where family comes first, it doesn't matter if you have problems with your family, you better figure it out or just be quiet about it. Like, that's a harder thing. I'm not sitting here saying, well, I don't care what your family culture is, you need to set boundaries with people in your family. No, I respect the cultural differences. I myself come from a culture that family is everything, right? And I've had to navigate that. But you are going to have to navigate that. You are going to have to decide who are the people in your family, in your life, who cause a lot of struggle for you in one way or another. And then what do you want to do about it? If you want to just set some limits, maybe not see them as much, okay, how would that look? What would you need to do to make that happen? Do you need to call them less or maybe not go to every family activity? Or do you need to continue going, but you need to strengthen yourself where you don't get your feelings hurt so easily, or you don't engage in certain conversations, or you just learn to, in one ear, out the other. Don't take it in. If you expect this one person to be kind of passive aggressive or insulting towards you, then prepare yourself and go in ready to just, nod and smile, or just let them finish what they need to say and then you move on to another conversation. Or do you need to practice a response where you advocate for yourself or stand up for yourself in a respectful way? Do you need to have a private conversation with them at a different time and say, listen, I really don't appreciate that every time I see you, you ask me about this thing, that's a problem for me. Can you please stop that? What do you need to do to make that easier? Because again, if this person was a friend, you probably would decide to not have them in your life anymore because you don't enjoy them. They irritate you, they annoy you, they make you mad, whatever. But because they're a family member, it might be harder to draw that line. Now, there are some people who really do not look at it that way, and they look at it as boundaries are optional here. Just because they're my family member doesn't mean that I have to stay in this situation where they get to talk to me in this way. And so those people will have to kind of use the same application that I talked about with friendship, where it's like, hey, I don't feel comfortable in, every time I see you, you do this and it really upsets me. So I don't want to come to these family get-togethers anymore, or I won't be coming if this person is there. And that's a choice. That's not an ultimatum, like, don't invite them if you want me to come. No, that's a personal choice. I'm going to choose not to come because this person is here and it's very difficult for me to be around them. I think that that's something, if you have the ability to set that boundary and the situation warrants it. And again, I can't sit here and go through every kind of situation that could come up and tell you whether that's a good choice or a bad choice. You are going to have to sit and think about it. It's not going to be a like, oh, this person bothers me, I don't want to go anymore. No, that's probably too quick. You need to sit and think about it. You probably need to talk it out with a spouse or a friend or a therapist to really figure out. If you're at the point where you're setting a boundary with a family member, it probably is going to be a big issue or a history of situations or something, but it should not be taken lightly. You need to evaluate this and you need to make that decision with a clear head, and you don't want to flip-flop and go back and forth. You need to make a decision that's best for you or your family, your children, your spouse, whatever, and then you need to figure out how to implement that. But if your decision is going to be implemented through a means of aggression, don't do that. It's not the right choice. You're not here to make people mad or start a fight in your family. That's a problem. But if it's very calm and, controlled, that's going to go better. Now, you can't determine what other people's reaction is going to be, so you're going to have to prepare for that. If you're trying to set a boundary with someone who's known to be aggressive, you need to figure that out before you set your boundary. You need to figure out your plan. You need to have some kind of plan in place for how you're going to do that. But generally speaking, the part I want you to think about right now is, are there people in your family that you interact with who are really, really unhealthy for you? Is there someone in the family that you want to talk to about that and get their input or get their support? But ultimately, setting boundaries with family is really hard because other people will be impacted, right? So if you have a family member that really causes you difficulty and you would like to set a boundary with them, chances are someone else in the family is going to get upset too, because now not everyone can get together, and you're breaking up the family or whatever you might get accused of. But that is such a personal decision. You are going to have to figure out if it's important to you, if this is something you have to do for your family, for your children, for your spouse, for yourself, whatever. And that's what I was saying. This isn't a quick decision. It can't be taken lightly. But if you're setting that boundary, you have to be ready to face the rest of the family and to figure out what that means for you. Does that mean you're setting more boundaries with people than you thought you would? Does it mean that you just have to let people be mad at you and you stand by your word? Or does it mean that maybe that boundary that you wanted to set is going to have to change a little bit because it's really, really complicated and you have to find a different way to do it? Again, this is a conversation for you and your therapist. When we're talking about relationships with family, I mean, some people come to counseling just to deal with a mental health issue that ends up being completely because of a family situation. It has nothing to do with mental health, but it leads to mental health problems. So family issues are not small. They're not to be taken lightly. They are to be respected and dealt with the right way. Don't make, super impulsive decisions about that. And the same goes for friendships. It's just typically there's less complication with setting a boundary in a friendship than there is with a family member because of the extended family that comes with that. But what I want you to what this all boils down to is boundaries are set for you. Our boundaries are set for us. I'm not going to encourage you to just cut out everyone that stresses you out, because that's not possible. People are stressful, at some point. Even the most amazing people in your lives that you adore more than anything have never caused you problems. At some point will stress you out. So the goal isn't to cut out stress. The goal is to be intentional with the people you surround yourself with. Fill your life with people who build you up, not who tear you down. Fill your life with people who want you to grow and succeed, not people who are intimidated or jealous of you and want to see you fall so that they feel better about themselves. And that's up to you. You are going to be the one that has to make that determination. Hopefully you have someone in your life who can talk you through that and say, hey, this doesn't sound like a healthy friendship. Let's look at that. Or, you know what, this actually isn't as bad as you think it is. I think you're just maybe taking something personally that you need to figure out how to toughen up against. Those are all important conversations to have with a professional or a close family member that can be somewhat objective. But you have to think about the people that you bring into your life, because I bet right now you could think of at least one person that you see or spend time with to some extent, but that you really don't feel good about yourself when you're with them, or you feel like you have to constantly be on edge and defend yourself to them because they're critical or judgmental or whatever. And sometimes they're not doing anything wrong. They could be the nicest people, but for whatever reason, you feel very insecure when you're around them. Maybe you're comparing yourself to them. Maybe they have something you wish you had, a family, a body, or whatever. And because of that, because of your perspective, you are struggling. So in that situation, obviously step one would be try to understand that and try to work through it and try to get to a point where you can overcome that insecurity. And if you can't do that, then you might have to make a decision that it's just better for you to spend less time with that person. Maybe see them less often, or just try to find someone else to hang out with, right? So I hope that was helpful. I hope it gave you something to think about. You got to value yourself. You got to surround yourself with people that make your life more positive. And when you have to interact with people that can take away from that, you have to learn how to strengthen yourself towards it, or you have to figure out how to move in a different direction where they don't play a big role in your life anymore. So give it some thought. Share it with a friend. If you know anyone who struggles with setting boundaries or kind of advocating for themselves, or just finding their own worth in friendships, please share this episode with them. I know a lot of people who struggle with this. I'm sure you do too. So please share this. Let's help people learn to kind of take care of themselves a little bit more. All right. Thanks for listening, everyone. Bye.